Hey, thanks for joining me again on the podcast. Today's guest speaks all about what it takes to be an effective, powerful general manager, someone who creates amazing opportunities for his people, recognizes talent, sets clear expectations, holds people accountable, and moves them up, which lowers turnover, creates a powerful and amazing company culture, and creates this environment that delivers amazing guest experiences that creates repeat business. This is all about the ins and outs of being a dynamic general manager. My guest is Andrew Roy, the GM of Mahogany Steakhouse in Omaha, Nebraska. You're not going to want to miss this episode. If you want to run a really strong leadership team, it's really all about recognizing talent, giving them opportunities, incentivizing them. We have a complete course on leadership at restaurantrockstars.com. Leadership is really special. It's something you want to achieve in your organization. So check that out at restaurantrockstars.com. Now, on with the episode.
You're tuned in to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Powerful ideas to rock your restaurant. Here's your host, Roger Bodwin.
Listen, don't lose birthday business to your competition. People celebrate birthdays 7 days a week. The check averages are high, and when they have fun in your place, they'll come back again. Talk to my buddy Dyson. He's an operator also, just like you and me, but now he runs a done-for-you birthday club. Go to jointhebirthdayclub.com/birthdayrockstar. It's a piece of cake. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. Glad you're with us. Andrew, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Pleasure to be on.
Fantastic. So you're in Omaha, Nebraska, and that is definitely cow country and steak country, and you're with the Mahogany Steakhouse, and you're the general manager. Let's talk about what it means to be a great GM in your eyes. What has led to your success as being a manager?
So a lot of things. So I've actually been in the restaurant industry for 20 years now. I've done everything from dishwasher, serve, bartend, all the way up to this position.
Awesome.
Yeah, having a hand in all the different pots has definitely informed a lot of my decisions and how I interact with my team.
All right, that's excellent. So it's really important to understand the ins and outs of the different positions and know what people are responsible for in each job. But it's also about setting expectations so that when you either have a new hire or you've got someone that's worked with you for a while, that they know exactly what's expected. How do you set those expectations? How do you clearly communicate what you expect?
Oh, every new hire, I actually personally fill out their paperwork and do their orientation. So we have it's about hour and a half process. First of all, make sure we have the I-9s and W-4s and everything. All the I's are dotted and T's crossed. But
great. Excellent.
We also give them a tour and make sure they know what's coming up in our training process. They know who they can reach out to if they have any issues or questions, and they know what's expected of them moving forward.
So what does that typically look like for the onboarding? Do you work with them personally? Do you assign them, say, a mentor that they kind of shadow, a buddy that kind of shows them the ropes sort of thing and best practices? How does that work?
It definitely depends on the department they're joining. So anything front of house, we do have a set up mentor program. For, say, our hosts, it's a little less intense than the front of house server or captain, if you will. For the hosts, they have one host classroom, about an hour long, and then 3 shifts where they start doing the tasks of the job more and more. Server assistants, what we call server assistants, most restaurants call bussers.
Yes, I like that better. I like that better.
Yes, yeah.
More professional.
Yeah, they like it too. So they have about a 30-minute class right before the first shift, and they do 3, one where they follow server assistant, and then 2 where they're leading and someone's following them. Servers, a little more intense. It's about a 2 to 3 hour classroom, depending on how many questions, and then about 2 weeks of different tests and following. So
excellent.
Probably the hardest of all of them.
All right. That's fantastic. How many seats do you have in Mahogany?
So at our max capacity, it's about 303.
That's a big restaurant.
That's every seat seated at once.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever gotten to that capacity. If you have the full bar full and most of the tables, 2 to 4 tops, usually about $250 on your craziest Friday or Saturday. Yeah.
All right. That's fantastic. Now, do you get many tourists? Is it locals and tourists? Tell me about Omaha. I've been through Nebraska and never actually been to Omaha.
Sure. So we do have a pretty vibrant scene here. We do have a lot of people traveling through for business. It's a benefit of being right in the middle of the country. So I'd say, depending on the week, the mix is usually about 50-50 people that we see once a week versus people from out of town who just search for best steak in town.
All right. Okay. So that's great. So are you getting positive reviews and are you asking for those? Just curious.
We do get positive reviews. We don't have any system in place where we ask for them. Most of our bookings are through OpenTable, and OpenTable does automatically ask for them on our behalf.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, when restaurants don't have that, it's really sad because human nature is more likely to have someone leave a negative review regardless of what happens. They're very quick to go there, and you got to monitor these reviews. You got to respond to them. You got to show that you care. And if it's a legitimate complaint, make it right for the all that, right? But like human nature, you can give them the most amazing experience on the planet and they'll be happy and they'll walk out the door and they won't think to go leave a review. And it's really unfortunate. So a lot of restaurants are now asking, hey, if you had a great experience, we'd really appreciate it if you leave us a review. And that seems to be helping, but it's great that you have OpenTable that works. Let's jump back to the expectations. Once your team have very clear expectations, they've been onboarded, they've worked with the mentors, you've put them through these classrooms. It sounds like it's fairly rigorous because you have high standards. What about accountability? Is there anything in place where you can literally see that they're definitely performing to your expectation? And what happens if that performance deviates or goes sideways?
Well, sure. To start with the hire that's doing a great job. So I'll walk you through that whole progression.
Please do.
Whatever new hired, host, server assistant, server, it doesn't really matter what position. Every employee that works there, we give them 2 performance appraisals per year. And so
Great.
The first one actually happens 30 days after their hire date. So that's like you got through training and you should have had maybe a week or 2 when you've been by yourself. You're no longer learning these things, but you're actually performing the job, hopefully up to standards. So that mentor we assigned you, and then one manager, often me, but we'll sit down and we'll fill out, it's a separate page for server assistants. How are you setting the tables? Are you doing it in a timely manner? That all of them have questions about, are you arriving to work on time? Are you pleasant and enthusiastic and engaged or not? One of the fun things about that first review is the trainee actually gets an opportunity with the manager, with their mentor leaving the room, and they get to evaluate that mentor. So we get to find out, is this mentor being effective in the training process? So usually those go very well. If you made it through a training, usually things are sailing along and it's just 1 or 2 odds or ends. Obviously, if someone is not performing up to par, we do have a system, we call them written communications. And so it's you and to the managers. We usually do male and female just to make sure they're both perspectives, sit at a table out in the open and like, hey, this is something we've noticed. Let's say it's persistent tardiness. We say, we have it written down. These are the 3 dates that we've noticed you've been late. We need this to be corrected going forward. Is there anything we can do to make sure that this won't be a problem in the future? And we make sure it's all crystal clear and we get it signed for their records. And in the onboarding process, we make sure that they know if there are 3 of those in a year, that is grounds for termination. Not instantaneous termination, but grounds.
That's great. So you have disciplinary procedures, I'm hearing, for minor and major infractions. You make it very clear to people. You're taking detailed, perhaps notes, however you do that. You're keeping employee files and you're giving them these really regular twice-a-year reviews so people really know what they're doing. Do you have any consequences for, say, frequent tardiness? Do they lose shifts, or is there anything that's a deterrent for that behavior to continue besides just talking to them in public and saying, what can you do to get back on track sort of thing?
Yeah, we've never really done one of those X for Y. You accidentally run into the wrong thing. You can't work Saturdays. Okay. I'm sure that I've worked in restaurants where they've done that, but I think most of the problems, if you're clear and upfront early on, solve themselves. And the people that can't learn, we we show them the door.
All right. What about pre-shift meetings? Do those happen regularly?
We do. Yes. Every day, 15 minutes before the start of the shift. So,
Excellent. 15 minutes is perfect. What would you consider that to be a strategy session? What do you talk about in your pre-shifts?
so it's pretty easy. I'd say about 90% of it is covering topics, making sure everyone's on the same page. We go on a weekly roster of different topics, and every day we cover about the same thing. Try to mostly ask questions rather than tell people the information. For instance, this week we're talking a lot about beer. We're also doing a rapid fire. Do we have this in the bar? Does the bar carry kettle Citron or is it absolute Citron? Making sure everyone is quick and knows what we have. The other 5-10% is us talking about the major reservations that are coming in that night.
Okay.
Do we have a special party? Is there someone who wants to make sure the doors closed and no one interrupts during their presentation? The stuff that we all need to know.
And it sounds like reading tables is important too. Is someone in a hurry? Are they trying to catch a show or a movie, or is it a special occasion like an anniversary or birthday? Like all those things impact the guest experience as well as the sales of the restaurant. So obviously that's important too.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Well, that's very cool. What about suggestive selling? Is that a focus in your restaurant? So
No.
you obviously through menu knowledge and you have people so well trained, because I did hear that you're quizzing them and that they're put through this classroom. So they have to have menu knowledge and restaurant knowledge. What about that suggestive selling piece? Is that important? And do you train on that?
Oh, 100%.
Let's talk about that because that's a big deal.
We call them spills, but they're the prepackaged practicing of selling the different items in appetizing and enticing ways. We do as a group have some pretty strict rules about that. Specifically, we always make sure that at some point we call it like sandwiching the price, but making sure if it's something off menu that the guest at some point has heard the price. If you're selling someone, one of our dishes is a chilled crab cocktail. So it's a pound of Alaskan king crab that's steamed, deshelled, chilled, served with different dipping sauces. Really fantastic starter.
That sounds wonderful.
Right. But because of the price of Alaskan king crab,
Of course.
$100 starter. So
oh, yes.
we
You got
make
no
sure that-
surprises.
make sure that they say that at some point when
Yeah.
they're telling their guests about that.
Is that enough for a couple people to share? One person? What's the portion size on that?
So it's a pound before Dijon. It does work out to be about 7 to 8 ounces.
Okay. Yeah.
If I were hungry, I could definitely eat one by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I would too. I would too.
Shared it. Yeah.
But if it's a couple, then perhaps they would share. But what a nice appetizer, a nice high end that could get you. And it's perfect fit with a steakhouse also. But yeah, you don't want to surprise them with that sticker shock because, yeah, the price of crab is huge. And obviously that's volatile as well. Okay, cool. What about a company culture? How would you describe the culture of your restaurant?
So it's really cool. So me and my wife met. I went to college out in Santa Fe and we met out there. Her parents taught at OSU in Oklahoma. And so we always thought they would come and move out to us, but we ended up moving out to them. And they had a situation where they were in a housing thing that wasn't working out and they're a little older. So we actually helped them move to Tulsa. And so Mahogany has a location here in Omaha, but also 3 more down in Oklahoma. And so happened to be the place that we ended up moving in Tulsa and helping her parents move. I was right down the street from the Mahogany down there. Walked in because I was new to Oklahoma, new to Tulsa, applied as a server. I have a background in wine and bartending.
Excellent.
I got that job.
Great skill set to have when you're a GM.
It's good to help when you move. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I got that job, and they actually, so they're really big believers in promoting from within. So 6 months later, their area partner, Jake, asked if I would join the management team. I said, yes. They needed some help in the kitchen and I had never done it, but they offered to train me in a back of house kitchen management role to see if I could take on that challenge. I did it and wasn't the best. I don't have the best knife skills or anything like that, but managed through it. And I let them know that I'm more of a front of house guy. And they were actually looking for my replacement. COVID happened, shut down. They did actually pay us during the shutdown. which was a real
Excellent.
help.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. Oh my gosh, those times going back there, but absolutely what
Yeah.
a benefit. All right, you're fortunate.
Yeah. And so came back out. They did eventually, when we reopened, they got my replacement trained up, and I started managing front of house. And then they were moving locations in Omaha, and they were looking for a new GM to take over the move. And they asked if I'd be willing to move. So said yes, came up here, and yeah, it's been awesome. And
Perfect.
said that just so I could highlight the whole, they are so big at promoting from within and taking care of the people that work here. I also just want to mention as an aside, our bar manager used to be one of our old bartenders, and our private dining coordinator actually started as a host. So they're really big of taking people that have potential and seeing how much they can grow.
I'm a huge believer in that. And that is a great culture because there's such high turnover in this business. There's certainly been labor challenges that a lot of restaurants are still struggling with. And a lot of that is because they're not caring deeply enough to nurture people, recognize their talents, and develop them into the next step. How do we move this person? And it's okay. I say this often that it's okay if you got a stellar line cook and they just love being a great line cook. And this guy can cook 30 steaks at a time perfectly to temp. You don't want to lose that person. But a lot of people are looking for opportunity. And if they don't see it here, they're going to try and find it elsewhere, whether it's another restaurant or another business. So I love that approach. I think that's really smart. Promoting from within. How about recognition and rewards? Is there any regular thing where you got a stellar person that stands out and they just get recognized for that in a unique way?
Yeah. So we do an employee of the quarter. We always pick someone front of house and back of house.
Excellent.
So then we, at the end of the year, we also do employee of the year. So we look at those employees of the quarter and say, who really
A real
stood out
standout.
here?
Yeah.
We also, we have something we call them hog stars, because the mahogany, the hog.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I get you.
There are these little cards that all the managers have. So when someone gets a shout out from a guest, or someone went above and beyond, picked up a shift when we asked them to, something like that, we hand those out, and they're good for $20 in employee food. So you can
There's a
put them
perk.
together, and you can get 3 or 4, you can buy yourself a steak.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Are you having any labor issues at all? Has it been a challenge for the hog?
Yes and no. I think, after COVID, everything did change a little bit. I think we're in a fortunate situation. So last count I did, we have about 89 employees, and that's about 10 of those are kids that have gone
That's
off
a
to
big
college
crew.
on weekends. So they come back for like weekends sometimes.
Yeah.
And that also includes some people who've been there for 20 years. But we're always, like every restaurant, we're struggling to find people who want to work Sundays and Mondays because of the slower shifts.
Of course.
Yes. And all of our rock stars that have been here for 10, 15 years, well, the great shifts. And I understand. Yeah. I want to work only the good shifts too. So
Are you open 7 days a week? Restaurants sell tons of fried food, and your customers love it. But the hassles, hazards, and mess of fryer oil, cleaning hoods, and all that grease, well, you can forget all that with Restaurant Technologies. They deliver your oil, filter it, monitor usage, collect and recycle your waste cooking oil. Their AutoMist system automates your hood and flue cleaning, eliminating the fire risk. As a Restaurant Technologies customer, you'll also save 10 to 15% in your insurance premiums. Plus, get a bonus for new customer referrals. Get started at rti-inc.com or call 866-399-3639. Lily's Fresh Pasta refuses to compromise on quality. This family-owned business, built on time-honored traditions passed down from Lily to her son Antonio, lives on with every batch. Lily's Fresh Pasta is made to European standards using 100% non-GMO, glyphosate-free Italian unbleached wheat. Lily's is served in the finest restaurants in America. I've had Lily's Fresh Pasta many times, and I can tell you it's always molto buono. Elevate your menu. Serve Lily's Fresh Pasta in your restaurant. Ask your local food service representative or call Antonio directly at 603-818-2100. And be sure to follow Lily's on Instagram at Lily's Fresh Pasta.
we open every day, but Christmas and Thanksgiving, and occasionally New Year's Day if it's on like a Monday 2 years ago.
Yeah, discounting and value are two entirely different things. But when we have a slow night in our restaurants, it's really important to try to figure out some way of driving some traffic in the door, whether that's through a loss leader, but we're selling alcohol, so it's still profitable, or getting people in for another table turn before it gets busy at 7 p.m. Like all these are strategies. Is there anything special that you're doing on those slower days to try to up the business levels?
We haven't implemented it, but we're talking about doing 10 to 20% off all bottles of wine.
Okay.
We wanted it, if we do it, we want it to be across the board. So it's easy to understand, easy to promote, which we have a sliding scale where we charge slightly lower markup for higher end bottles. So we have to make sure it's a percentage that doesn't, bankrupt us or anything
Oh, of
like
course. It's interesting, and I'm sure you know this, but if you have more than one wine supplier, or even if you have a major wine supplier, they're always bringing in new products. And when they do that, there's certain products that are lagging, that haven't really moved too much. And that doesn't affect or mean that the quality of those products are bad. It just didn't catch on for whatever reason. And I used to always ask them, like, what do you got sitting around the warehouse that I can bring in for a really great price, where I can charge a really great margin? And they're not going to see it anywhere else. They're not going to have any idea. And then I can discount those wines and do a special promotion like this. I'm so quick to point out all the time, you don't ask, you don't get. So I was always working with my suppliers to ask them about different things to help my profitability. Speaking of profits, as a GM, do you get involved in the financial side of the business at all? And are you held accountable for food and labor costs and all that kind of stuff? Talk about that.
Oh, 100%. The P&L is my scorecard. We do 13 financial periods per year. And so we're tracking to see, are we increasing sales from last year? And is our labor in line with what we expect? Are our cost of goods sold in line with what we expect them to be? And are we actually making money? Which, yeah. If we don't do that, no one has a job.
Exactly. Taking regular inventory, that sort of thing?
Yes. I try to do at least one inventory with one of the guys. Usually,
that's always a good idea. Checks and balances. Yeah, that's important.
For sure. Yeah. And so my bar manager takes the lead on counting the bar step. We have him assistant. He's just a bartender, but he's trained up. He's really good. So it's a lot of bottles. So we have altogether about 200 grand in booze inventory.
Oh, wow. That is a huge inventory. So all the more reason why inventory is important. So I'm sure you have a system in place to track that, because that could be an onerous process.
Yes. Yeah.
That's terrific. How about marketing strategy? Anything special that really works for your business and how you promote? And just asking if you use influencers, or how do you drive some of that traffic that may not be aware of Mahogany Steakhouse?
So we do some marketing. We have an email list where we'll send out email blasts when we have special events, if we're closed, that sort of thing. All the things that you might expect. Facebook, not as much on Instagram or any of that. We do have promoted days on Open Table. They allow you to promote. So essentially Sunday, Monday, we pay a little more to have our name show up at the top, just so people see us when they're hungry and booking reservations. And then we do some advertising at the local airport. So when you're picking up your bags, you'll see a sign that has our steakhouse and pictures of our steakhouse and a lobster.
Okay. Yeah, I could see where that would totally work. Someone's coming into town. They don't know what's a great place. Everyone wants to have an Omaha steak, and they see it and it's okay, we're going there. That's fantastic. And then they tell their Uber driver, take me right to the Mahogany.
Sure. Yeah.
Right now. Okay, that's cool. Excellent. Now, what about challenging customers? Does that happen often?
Yeah. So the way I think about it, I assume probably about 1% of the population's a little crazy. We do have every once in a while some crazy people. One of the things I like to tell my management team is we're all human. We make mistakes too. So yes, we do occasionally have some complaints.
Do you train your team to try to diffuse the situation and to make things right, meaning on the floor level versus calling the manager? Because I know in my experience, a guest might have a problem. And if a person is not empowered to use their best judgment to solve that problem, let me go ask my manager. Now the person feels embarrassed. And the manager comes to the table. They have to describe or complain about it for the second time. I'm just curious if there's any empowerment or what that process looks like at your place.
Oh, sure. So I would say for a large majority of the cases, that's what happens. We do always make sure a manager follows up though. So
That's important.
yeah, if a server comes and tells me that they really just didn't like the rotten potatoes. So any of my managers that work with me, they would instantly take those off the bill. But our rules, we follow back up. The exception in that case, we do as a rule, managers always handle alcohol complaints or anything involving alcohol, mostly just to protect the servers. People have been drinking. If there's a concern about cutting someone off or overconsumption, we always want if they're angry, for that anger to go to the management team. Because that's why we're here.
That makes sense. This episode has made me slightly hungry because it's lunchtime. Do you have I'm assuming you have a wide variety of cuts of beef and different styles of beef, and how deep do you go? Because again, this is a major steakhouse.
So we have 3 different types of fillets, mostly size differences, but also bone and fillet. And that's one of the ones we're known for. A couple different ribeyes, strip steaks. Obviously we do a porterhouse. And then we do a rotating selection of different featured items. So we'll get A5 Japanese Wagyu, we'll get dry aged cowboys. So yeah, it's every week it's something different, but kind of core, we have the ribeyes, New York strips. We've got the porterhouse all the time. And of course, pork chop, chicken, and seafood selections.
Awesome. Now, I'm a huge believer in hooks, and not everyone knows what a hook is, but a hook is something that catches the guest's imagination. It's something unique, special, or different about a process or about something you do that's just got wow factor. I was at a steakhouse in Waco, Texas, and I was brought in to speak at an event. We all went out to dinner at the steakhouse. And yes, the food was fantastic. And the chef actually came out and chatted up our table. And that's all great PR, of course. But the server brought out a platter of probably 15 different steak knives that were all really unique and different and special. And some had ivory handles and some had a cobalt blue or a lapis blue handle. And you could literally choose the steak knife before your steak came to the table, and it was on a velvet pillow. And I thought, wow, that makes people feel really special. I thought that was cool. Are there any hooks in your restaurant that really stand out that you hold your hat on?
I think one of the more unique things about us is we always participate in team service. So when you are shown your table, they're going to tell you, oh, this evening you'll have James and Alicia taking care of you. So you never have just one server, which means you never really have to wait for anything. When one's in the back, one's out front. So you always have someone watching and ready to help you out.
That's hospitality right there. That's
you don't
fantastic.
Get to choose your own knife, but yeah.
Oh, that's cool. No, I like the team service idea. I think people feel special and they feel recognized. They feel really unique about making the choice to come in. And especially if it's choreographed service, I'm always amazed at how communication happens sometimes behind the scenes. And the minute you say, I'll have this, somebody signaled and out it comes, and a second later, and like, how did they do that? It's like magic. So again, hospitality is special. Andrew, it's been really wonderful having you on the show. Thanks for being a great guest.
Thanks, Roger. I appreciate it.
I hope everyone comes and checks out the Mahogany Steakhouse in Omaha, Nebraska the next time you're traveling. Thanks so much to the audience for tuning in. Can't wait to see you all next time. Stay tuned, stay well, and I'll see you then.
People go to restaurants for lots of reasons. For fun, celebration, for family, for lifestyle. What the customer doesn't know is the thousands of details it takes to run a great restaurant. This is a high-risk, high-fail business. It's hard to find great staff. Costs are rising and profits are disappearing. It's a treacherous road and smart operators need a professional guide. I'm Roger. I've started many highly successful, high-profit restaurants that I've now sold for millions of dollars. I'm passionate about helping other owners and managers not just succeed, but knock it out of the park. I created a game-changing system, and it's filled with everything I've learned in over 20 years running super profitable, super fun restaurants. Everything from creating high-profit menu items and cost controls to staff training where your teams serve and sell, to marketing hooks, money-maximizing tips, and efficiencies across your operation. What does this mean to you? More money to invest in your restaurant, to hire a management team, time freedom, and peace of mind. You don't just want to run a restaurant, You want to dominate your competition and create a lasting legacy. Join the Academy and I'll show you how it's done.
Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Rockstars podcast. For lots of great resources, head over to restaurantrockstars.com. See you next time.